Het doen ze hier?
Ja.
Daar in Loes? Beneden?
It's very Belgian, very complicated. Diverse, rich. We try to spice up.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this press conference to conclude this informal meeting of Competitiveness Ministers on Internal Market and Industry with Flemish Minister for Economy, Innovation, Work, Social Economy and Agriculture, Jo Broens, and European Commissioner for Internal Market, Thierry Breton. Both will make a statement first, and then we'll open the floor for some questions. Minister, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good afternoon and welcome again here in Genk and Thor Park. We have had two very interesting and productive days. This informal council was all about the future of the internal market and about securing the future of our European industry. Our discussions show that the European member states are already to take a next step towards a more comprehensive framework for industrial policy and a more unified internal market. This is not surprising. Indeed, a lot of initiatives for a new European industrial policy have already been taken in recent years, such as the Net Zero Industry Act, the Critical Raw Materials Act, and the European Chips Act. Each of these were and are important steps in strengthening the competitiveness of our European industry. However, we must realize that there are still many challenges ahead of us: unfair global competition, demanding climate targets, and an ever-changing geopolitical scene. For that reason, we discussed how to reduce dependencies on third countries, how to secure a level playing field on the internal markets, and how to stimulate innovation from and by industry. We will continue our efforts to achieve the green and digital transition, but must also consider the administrative burdens that come along, especially for SMEs. European companies need clear rules that are predictable and constant, which at the same time stimulate innovation and guarantee the integrity of the internal market. Harmonizing and consolidating regulations and reducing reporting obligations and administrative burden should therefore remain a focus in the future policy initiatives. Another important aspect of our industrial policy framework is the diversification of materials and supply, with sufficient attention to both production and extraction within the European Union. Current geopolitical and economic shifts have made us aware that there is work to be done on various fronts. Our industrial capacity must be strengthened by focusing on strategic sectors such as solar energy and other renewables, semiconductor, manufacturing, biotechnology, food and defense. While discussing about strategic autonomy, we could not but notice the important link with the future of agriculture. This has been clear by the farmers protesting near Thor Park. It is therefore important that we also secure strategic autonomy for food and from it draw lessons for other sectors. We emphasized the importance of striking a balance between an open European economy and strategic autonomy. It also remains important to consider other key elements of industrial policy, including skills, research and innovation. In order to protect the internal market and its level playing field, we need to think about long-term solutions and counteract a subsidy race between member states. Companies should compete with each other and not create competition between member states. Therefore, more coordination at the European level is necessary, including thorough analysis of the impact of state aid on competitiveness and attracting foreign investments. Such a long-term solution or framework should be based on uniform, objective and general criteria. There was also consensus that there should be a continued focus on innovation and valorization. This is a key This is key if we want to ensure the competitiveness of our industry and achieve the transition to a green and digital industry. This implies, among other things, that we will have to continue to invest in innovation in a sustainable way. For valorization, financing is also crucial. Unifying the capital market should contribute to this. We want the findings and insights derived from today's discussion to resonate in a future policy making. For this reason, the Belgian presidency will take the reflections of this informal council into account when drafting council conclusions. These council conclusions will be addressed to the new European Commission. In this way, we want to make an impactful contribution to the future European industry policy. There is still a lot of work ahead if we want to equip our industry to meet current and future challenges. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Commissioner, you have the floor.
Merci, merci Monsieur le Ministre. D'abord, merci de votre accueil à Genk. On a eu une matinée extrêmement riche et je me faisais la réflexion ici à Genk, que de chemin parcouru depuis 4 ans. Nous avons tous parlé, et c'est vraiment quelque chose que j'ai dit du reste dans mes conclusions, d'une seule voix. On a été, j'ai trouvé, extrêmement unis aujourd'hui sur, d'abord, les ambitions que nous avons pour le marché intérieur, mais aussi sur la nécessité d'avoir maintenant une véritable politique industrielle pour l'Europe. Les 27, tous, ont exprimé avec leurs mots cette nécessité, s'appuyant sur tout ce que nous avons fait. Je me souviens, il y a 4 ans, lorsque je suis arrivé, on parlait énormément du consommateur, on en parle toujours, mais on ne parlait pas de politique industrielle. Et aujourd'hui, on n'a parlé que de politique industrielle, parce que c'est comme ça qu'on fait aussi une bonne politique pour nos consommateurs. Et au fond, ce changement de paradigme majeur qui s'est opéré depuis ces 4 dernières années, bien sûr, on le doit aux différentes crises que nous avons traversées, Covid, la guerre en Ukraine, la crise de l'énergie, l'inflation, toutes ces crises que nous avons surmontées. On a tous dit qu'on les a surmontées parce qu'on était unis, et on l'a fait ensemble. Et on l'a fait aussi parce qu'on a renforcé, ce faisant, notre marché intérieur en partageant finalement un sentiment qui a été partagé par tout le monde. Au fond, c'est la fin de la naïveté. Alors bien sûr, nous sommes un continent ouvert, mais nous sommes un continent ouvert à nos conditions. Et c'est de ça dont on a parlé au fond. Quelles conditions? Comment faire ensemble plus et mieux? Comment faire pour nous engager de façon déterminée dans cette double transition majeure qui est tellement importante, d'abord pour obtenir les objectifs, que ce soit sur le Green Deal, mais aussi nos objectifs numériques. Et donc, une Europe qui doit de plus en plus se tourner maintenant, que nous avons mis en place ces objectifs, on en a parlé beaucoup, sur l'accompagnement et les transitions qui vont être à réaliser. Et ce sera évidemment un objectif majeur pour le prochain mandat de la Commission à venir. Et dans ce contexte, vous l'avez rappelé à l'instant, l'agriculture et les agriculteurs qui sont pas très loin, que vous avez rencontrés, je crois, tout à l'heure, nous le rappellent, et nous le rappellent à juste titre, en exprimant leurs inquiétudes. Ils viennent de nous dire combien l'Europe, en tant qu'aspiration politique, ne peut se faire sans l'adhésion de tous ses concitoyens, de tous ceux qui constituent, j'allais dire, ces écosystèmes les uns aux côtés des autres. Et c'est vraiment, je crois, un exemple à retenir. Bien sûr, on a entendu et on va accompagner. Et le maître mot, c'est vraiment accompagner. C'est du reste que j'ai lancé moi-même dans les responsabilités qui sont les miennes, notamment en ce qui concerne les écosystèmes, dont par exemple l'écosystème automobile avec Route 35, où nous nous réunissons avec tous les industriels, mais toutes les parties prenantes au sens large, que ce soit les ONG, les consommateurs, les fabricants de batteries, les fournisseurs des composants critiques, ceux qui nous amènent aussi le lithium, mais aussi ceux qui fabriquent des chargeurs électriques, et puis bien entendu la production d'électricité décarbonée. Tout ça, évidemment, s'est mis ensemble, on se réunit de façon très régulière, on a des points de rendez-vous maintenant, parce qu'il faudra le faire, et je pense qu'il faudra qu'on le déroule, effectivement, désormais écosystème par écosystème. La politique européenne, la politique industrielle européenne doit être le levier de cette réaffirmation et de cet accompagnement. Et autour, donc finalement, 3 ou 4 points que nous avons évoqués, que je vais rappeler très brièvement pour ne pas être trop long. D'abord, renforcer nos capacités de production. Et ça, c'est vraiment un élément clé, partagé par tout le monde. Bien sûr, on ne va pas tout faire en Europe, mais il faut renforcer nos bases industrielles. On l'a déjà fait, et ça a été cité par beaucoup de nos collègues, grâce au CHIP Act, avec maintenant plus de 100 milliards de projets qui sont engagés, 100 milliards d'euros de projets qui sont engagés, plus de 70 projets qui ont été identifiés, le Critical Raw Material Act, pour être sûr de nous assurer de ce qui est absolument indispensable dans nos chaînes de valeur. Évidemment, le Net Zero Industry Act, qui a été, pour lequel, comme vous le savez, nous avons conclu un accord politique il y a quelques jours seulement. Mais on sait qu'encore une fois, pas de Green Deal, pas non plus de décennie numérique, sans capacité manufacturière, en un mot, sans usine. Et ça, c'est vraiment quelque chose qui est partagé par tout le monde. Le deuxième point, c'est sécuriser nos chaînes d'approvisionnement, y compris dans la nouvelle géopolitique. On en a beaucoup parlé. Enrico Letta, à midi, nous disait à juste titre que ce contexte, cet environnement géopolitique dans lequel nous sommes désormais engagés et qui va durer, c'est pour nous un formidable wake-up call. Au fond, ça nous donne évidemment un momentum pour aller encore plus loin dans tout ce que nous venons de dire et dans tout ce que nous avons à faire. Et évidemment, dans ce contexte, les chaînes d'approvisionnement jouent un rôle absolument majeur. Il vaut mieux anticiper, réduire les risques sur les technologies les plus critiques. Et puis le troisième point, diversifier donc nos partenariats, les rééquilibrer aussi pour une plus grande réciprocité. C'est très important, évidemment, ce qui se passe. On le voit aujourd'hui. Discussion avec les agriculteurs nous le rappelle. On est maintenant conscient qu'il joue un rôle, heureusement qu'on en est conscient, il joue un rôle essentiel aussi pour notre souveraineté alimentaire. Et ce terme de souveraineté, il a été rappelé par beaucoup de nos collègues aujourd'hui. Et au fond, il va falloir savoir le décliner dans toutes nos politiques, désormais. Pas uniquement la politique agricole. Toutes nos politiques vont être concernées par ce concept de souveraineté, d'autonomie stratégique, ce qui ne veut pas dire, encore une fois, refermer sur soi. Ça veut dire cesser d'être naïf et retrouver les moyens de créer des rapports de force, de rééquilibrer finalement ce que nous sommes, une Europe puissance. Ce terme d'Europe puissance a été aussi partagé à de nombreuses reprises. Donc, bien sûr, nous devons rester ouverts sur le monde et nous le resterons, mais à nos conditions et sans naïveté. Et puis enfin, le dernier point, pour ne pas être trop long, évidemment, on a beaucoup parlé de notre force de frappe financière à l'échelle de l'Union européenne, avec des marchés des capitaux. Il faudra aussi en parler pour le prochain mandat, c'est une évidence, pour attirer les financements privés, mais aussi avec l'alternative européenne aux aides d'État. On a beaucoup parlé évidemment des aides d'État, qui lorsqu'elles ne sont pas, je le dis souvent, vous m'entendez le dire depuis que je suis commissaire, je suis toujours en faveur, non pas d'aides d'État qui sont unilatérales évidemment, mais on en a beaucoup fait, peut-être trop du reste. Je suis toujours, et avec mon ami Paolo Gentiloni, Dieu sait qu'on a beaucoup œuvré pour pouvoir faire avancer cette idée pour plutôt des aides d'État horizontales gérées au niveau européen et non pas au niveau individuel parce que, évidemment, ça peut créer de la fragmentation, on le sait. Voilà, donc, ce qui a été traité, discuté aujourd'hui dans une très bonne réunion, je trouve, l'une de nos meilleures réunions, je le dis sincèrement, elles sont toutes très bonnes, mais celle-là était particulièrement bonne, intéressante, un état d'esprit extrêmement constructif et plus uni que jamais pour une Europe qui protège, pour une Europe qui prenne ses responsabilités, pour une Europe qui soit consciente, qui est consciente des enjeux qui sont devant elle et que, plus que jamais, c'est ensemble que nous pourrons les relever. Merci.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. We will open the floor now for some questions. Please state your name and your media first. Yes, Léa.
Thank you. Léa Marchal for Agence Europe. I have two questions. I believe you discussed the role of strategic public procurement during the sessions. Did you come to recommendations on that, that would go beyond what was agreed in the Net Zero Industry Act, for instance? And another question, you mentioned the need to reduce the administrative burden for companies, the complicated rules, etc. And that's the narrative that often comes with the due diligence directive. And it was supposed to be an important day for this file. I wonder if it came up in the discussion today. If yes, do you think the member states are ready to move ahead on this file by changing details, for instance, or if it's dead? Thank you.
Second question, we didn't discuss. Huh? We didn't discuss the second question.
What the due diligence file with the directive did not come up during the discussions today. I noticed that, and I think we first have to make an evaluation on the Net Zero Industrial Act and other recent initiatives. We heard a lot of representatives ask for more harmonization of different ad hoc measures. I think that it's a challenge.
Maybe for the first question, which is the strategic role of public procurement. By the way, you're absolutely right. It is key. It has been mentioned by many of us. It's I believe, 2 trillion per year. That's a huge leverage impact could have, of course, on the internal market. So it has been discussed during one of the breakout sessions. I was not in this one, but a report has been made by our colleague, and I understand there were a consensus on the strategic role that public procurement plays, and that we need to use taxpayer money in a way which meets our objectives. So, and it's common with saying that there is a vast majority of member states saying yes, now we need to go in this direction. So a lot, as you know, a lot is already possible under existing legislation. Not only looking at price as award criteria, but also environmental and social criteria. But now resilience is also becoming a growing concern according to new dependencies and putting our economic security at threat. So again, the report that we received was that a majority, very large majority of member states could ask the Commission to look at whether the 2014 directives really still are fit for today's world, and indeed I think that's something the Commission probably could be mandated by the member states at the earliest stage, of course, for the next mandate.
Maybe I fill on, and we need, I think, more coherence is needed for sustained growth, and an evaluation for to a comprehensive legislation. But we can learn from the CHIPS Act, the Net Zero Act, the Medical Act. I think it's important to evaluate them, but we can learn. They are good first steps, and we need to learn from them on the course, on the route.
There. Yes, Joanna, please.
I would like to be more clear on that. Do you think, or the majority of countries think, that a sort of bi-European measure should be extended? Because we saw, a measure like that in the Net Zero Industry Act regarding the public procurement. So I would like to know if there has been a call to extend this kind of measure. And also, I would like to ask to Commissioner Breton, if the Commission is answering to Germany that basically asked to change the way that the Commission is providing figures about state aid, and also if the Commission is committed to make the procedures on state aid faster, as other countries asked. And last, I would like to know if you can share some details about the discussion on the Letta report, because I know that Enrico Letta present an overview about the part of his report focused on state aid, and it was the first time It was discussed with the ministers. So if you can share with us some insights.
So for your first question, I was not in the discussion. So again, I don't think this so-called Buy European Act, je ne sais pas le terme que vous avez employé, je crois que c'était cela, has been discussed, but it has not been reported. So I don't think that it has been discussed, because if it should have been the case, probably not probably. I'm sure that there will be a report on this. But again, the report was exactly the one I mentioned. So I cannot say more on this. Your first question. On the second one, yes, we discussed about state aid, and it's true that this question has been also discussed during the meeting, and personally, I mentioned a fact which is, I believe, important. I mean, figures are, of course, extremely important, but we need to be careful the way we present the figures. In other words, it's understandable that the largest country in size between all our member states are probably the one in absolute value which are using the biggest amount of euros, if I may say so, to state aid, obviously. But this is what I said. What is probably much more interesting is to have a clear view on how much has been used versus GDP or inhabitant or whatever. And then it changed a lot. And you see also, when you look at figures like this, that sometimes the so-called, I don't like this at all, this segregation. I told you this many times. Frugal, non-frugal, but sometimes you see that the frugal is not really frugal when you report it to the GDP or number of inhabitants. I don't say this to blame anyone. I'm just saying this just because we need to be all aligned and not, let's say, using figures for other means. So we had this discussion, but I think it was a good debate. And by the way, I was happy also to see that in the report it was very clear that you had in the main part of the report figures reported to GDP, and in the annex absolute value. So I think overall it was pretty well done. On the later report, so I don't want to be too long. We discussed this, of course, during the lunch. So if I want to summarize, and of course I don't want to give you everything because it's work in progress, of course. But three, let's say, main chapters. The first one was Enrico Letta mentioned, rightly so, that there is a very strong momentum now we are in, and thanks to this momentum, we can continue to move forward and to continue to push our industrial policies that I just described a few minutes ago, with, let's say, 4 topics for him which are absolutely key and which will be in key priorities. That's what he said to us for the next Commission to go. First is equally the telecom market, and he said it's really much too fragmented. And he said that's really something that we need to discuss, because now we are lacking and losing competitivity because of that. I don't want to elaborate too much, but it fits pretty much with our DNA, Digital Network Act, work that we are doing now. The second was, of course, the need to have a capital market. The third was the need to have now a much more developed defense industry market. And the fourth one, I forgot the first one, was, of course, the energy market. So that's the 4 topics that he will highlight. And of course, on this we are working from our side, as you know, and we will have a very important communication on the 27th of February for the defense. And later this first half on the digital network. The second topic was for Enrico Letta, the fact that, of course, we need to have the right financing tools, which is extremely important. And the third one was, of course, to make sure that we do this with a social acceptance by all our fellow citizens. So that's the three pillars at large. I don't want to enter into details that we discussed with Enrico Letta and our colleagues at large.
Thank you. As Mr. Breton has mentioned, all countries agreed that we need to act together to advance on a strategic autonomy. But I think it's too early to call for an extension on a legislation that's barely passed in the legislation process. The general position is that state aid is needed to support this transition, but most of all private money and investments must be facilitated. We need an entrepreneurial environment friendly to investment. That's crucial. And regarding your last question, I think it's too early to communicate about the Letta report. Maybe we give some insights like he did, but yeah, I think Mr. Letta said that we need to strengthen the European market, we need to prepare for enlargement, and we need an European market in favor of all SMEs, and that's very important also for Flanders. Furthermore, we need to work on the capital market so that savings of European remain in Europe, and SMEs should not be confronted with 27 different regulations of the different member states. Letta also referred to the farmer protest, and it's very important, very actually out today. We need to listen to the concerns of the citizens, thus also listen to the concerns of our farmers. An unified capital market, furthermore, is important to leverage private capital to support innovation, entrepreneurship, and the transition. Mr. Breton mentioned the defense industry, but other sectors that were mentioned were the automobile industry, especially the electric vehicles, the photovoltaic energy, and other renewables, foods, etc. I think is important to recognize.
We might have some time for a last question, and if there aren't any, then I would like to thank the Minister and the Commissioner and all of you, and I wish you a very good weekend. That's it. Thank you very much.
Merci. Thank you.
Thank you. I hope. Yeah.
Thank you. Very well done.
Thank you. Thank you. This is a key. This is a
Kun je wat kan?